Hello everyone, it's the Metal Geek. How y'all doing? Now, I know it's been a little bit since I put up a video. I put up my karaoke videos. I hope you guys have checked those out. But I know it's been a while since I put up a review or a first impression. So today, I'd like to welcome you back to a new episode of First Impressions. So you're probably wondering why not so many videos lately? Well, things have been a little bit busy for me, and to be quite honest, I've been kind of playing this. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you guys. This is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. A game that essentially is over a decade old at this point, but has been repolished and remastered and put into HD for the Nintendo Wii U. So I know you're all going to be wondering, is it really worth the price of admission at this point? Because Nintendo is charging $59.99 at least for this particular version of the game. And what I mean by that is this. It's a packaged version of the game that comes with a Wolf Link amiibo in the game itself, and it does again retail for $59.99, the price of a brand new game on the Wii U. But after over a decade, is this game still worth $60? Well, let's be clear, guys. If you're a die-hard Zelda fan, this game is in your collection. No questions asked. Why? Because you're a die-hard Zelda fan, and you have to own every Zelda. Kind of like me. I have been playing Zelda games ever since it graced the gold cartridge. And I never really looked back. Been a Zelda fan ever since. Now make no mistakes about it. I own the original GameCube version, and I've played all the way through it. I've beaten it. I love the game. It's about a 35-40 hour game, give or take, depending on the side quests and what you do in the game. I love this game, but was this one right here really worth the extra $60? The answer technically is going to be yes, and it's going to be no, depending on who you are. This is Zelda Twilight Princess HD, and what you're kind of paying for is the packaging. Now, there is a version of the game that is $49.99, and that's the downloadable version off the eShop, and I'm sure they're going to sell it later outside of this package for $49.99 as a hard disc. But this is the one that's available in stores right now. And if you don't want to download it off the eShop and you'd rather have a hard copy, this is really the way to go. And it does come with a really cool Link amiibo. It's the Wolf Link and it has Midna on top. It's really a beautiful amiibo. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't really buy or collect amiibos. And I probably won't even use the amiibo in the game because it only really opens up a bonus cave. And I'm not going to ruin too much, guys, but there is some spoilers for the stories. If you haven't played this game before, do realize I might spoil a little bit of the story. But I'm going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum. But it opens up an extra dungeon, and it's as Wolf Link only. And it's very similar to another dungeon that's already in the game called the Cave of Ordeals, in which you fight as the adult human or elven Link. It depends on how you look at Link. They call him human in the game, but he's got 20 years, so he's a elven warrior, in my opinion. But again, the packaging, very, very beautiful. Very beautiful packaging. I love it. It's if you're a collector, this is something you're going to want to have anyway, so you may just as well go out there, drop the $60 plus tax, and have fun with it, because it's not going to drop in price and it's going to become rare, because Nintendo's very notorious for their special edition packaging disappearing very quickly, and on top of that, not really coming back. So, what makes this version different from the original GameCube and Wii version? Well, guys, again, this is the first impression review. I have only played for about 4 or 5 hours through the HD version of the game, though again, I have played through the original, so I do know the story. But here's what's different so far that I know of. And you can decide on your own if it's enough to make the purchase. First and foremost, no changes in the graphics, guys. Now, what that means is that they didn't change the character models and all that good stuff. They did add a lot to the graphics, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. But they're using the same character models. They didn't really change anything at all, with the exception of remastering it for HD. Now, what that does mean is you have far better textures, meaning, like, if you look at Midna, and she wears that helmet thing on her head, in the original GameCube version, it looks pretty good, but in the Wii U HD version, the detail is, oh my god, immense. You can see, like, every crack and every little design on that helmet crystal clear with absolutely no blur effects or anything like that. So the textures, yeah, absolutely been improved in this game, but again, it's the same graphics, but with the HD upgrade. Oh, the lighting in this game is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's everything the original Twilight Princess had in it. Now, the one thing that the original game did have, and people like loved it for it, was particle effects, lighting effects. It had a bloom kind of blurriness to it. That's all still there, but with the clarity of the new textures, it is absolutely stunning at times, but at other times it's also kind of looks exactly the way it did 10 years ago. It just, again, it has that coat of polish on it now. Like a coat of polish. They just took the game and it was like, we're going to make this game look the way it did back then, because we don't really want to change it up. We don't want to make it a whole new game, but we are going to make it look really pretty. So yeah, is this the definitive graphical version of the game? Yes, it is. This is definitively the best looking version of Twilight Princess available, period. And another change, at least to the actual gameplay, that I noticed early on in the game, and maybe there'll be more of this as you go along, is that certain things, like when you had to collect the tears, again, spoilers guys, but as Wolf Link, you have to collect these tears before you're allowed to really go any further into the game. And it was kind of a monotonous quest in the original. You had to collect, I think it was like 16 to 18 of them. I think it was 16. They actually dropped the number of tiers that you have to collect in this game. It's down to a dozen or less. And that does speed up the game, even though it still kind of slows the beginning down a little bit, because this game is notorious for having a slow beginning and then picking up immensely right after you get past like the first 3 to 4 hours of the game. But in this case, it does pick up a little faster than the original GameCube version because, well, they actually shortened some of those quests, and that is welcome for me, because if there's any part of the original game that I wasn't overly fond of, was those early quests that made you go searching for things as the Wolf Link and Midna. And in this case, they took that, they just took that and they shortened it. Thank you, Nintendo. Just like they did with Wind Waker HD and the Triforce quest, where you had to go find the pieces of the Triforce. They streamlined it to get you into the game a little quicker. I thank you, Nintendo, for that, because that was needed. Gameplay doesn't change, guys. It's on the Wii U pad, of course, but you could also play on the Pro Controller. There is no support for the Nintendo Wii remotes, so you cannot play the Wii version of this game technically, though you can, and I'll explain that in a moment. It's just you can't use the Wii remotes in the Wii version of the game, so yeah, it's strange, but I'll get to that in a second. And that takes me to basically what else this game has to offer, which is 2 modes of play. The original GameCube version, which plays just like the GameCube version, how it's all mapped out, though the screen is very nice for inventory on the pad. I mean, it gets things done quickly. You can just set everything there, you got your maps, so it does streamline it. Again, streamlining is good. It keeps the game moving, and the gamepad helps streamline the game even faster. But if you want to play more classically and you like to hit the start button to go to the menu and switch everything around, you can still do that. And you could also play with the Pro Controller, which is basically, well, it's just like the GameCube controller, but looks more like an Xbox controller. But it basically lets you play the game in old-fashioned controller style, and only that way. Now the second mode to play is the Hero mode, which is actually available right off the bat in the Wii U version. You could actually choose between the regular mode, which is the GameCube one, and the Hero mode, which this is the Wii version of the game, but this is where it gets not complicated but weird, because in the original release of the game back over a decade ago, the GameCube version was the original version of the game. At some point, Nintendo decided they wanted to release it on the Wii as well, and that's because they wanted it to be a system seller. But because game players are going to be using the Wii remote with their right hand, they didn't want to confuse people by having Link left-handed in the game. So they actually mirrored the game so that Link would be right-handed in the Wii version. And what I mean by mirrored is they literally flipped the whole game around. Meaning if something was in the East in the GameCube version, it would be in the West in the Wii version. Which brings us to the Hero mode, which is the Wii mode. Everything is opposite than the GameCube version, but there's no Wii U controller support, and it's a little weird, but at the same time, I guess they just wanted to give people the experience of playing the flipped version of the game. But Nintendo, you really should have added the Wii Remote control to this particular version of the game. It would have been more authentic. But again, it's the Hero mode, and you take double damage. And hey, I'm even hearing that if you use the Ganondorf amiibo from Smash Brothers on this game, it'll actually do double damage, which means if you're taking double damage in the Hero mode, it means you're taking 4 times damage if you're using the Ganondorf amiibo. So if you're a hardcore gamer, guys, that's about as hardcore as the game can get. Sounds really tough. I haven't tried it yet, but if you want a challenge, that's probably your challenge. And finally, that brings me to the last of the people that I have not talked about yet, and that's the people who haven't even played Twilight Princess yet. For you, if you're interested in trying this game, this is the version to buy. This is the definitive version. Do not get me wrong. I love the GameCube version. I own it, and I'll never get rid of it. But if you have never played the game before, there's no other version of this game you should buy except for this one, because this one really is definitive. The HD graphics are beautiful, okay? Again, they didn't change much from 10 years ago, but the graphics actually still hold up very, very well. And the HD textures work amazingly in this, and the new lighting and particle effects. I can't say enough about it. Get this version of the game. The game is actually streamlined better, plays better, looks better. You really can't go wrong. If you want to try a Zelda game, this is the one to get, and this is the one to play. If you don't want to get the Amiibo version, again, save yourself a little money, download it for $10 less. Now when it comes to stacking up this with the original, guys, this version I gave a 9.8 out of 10 when it came out. The reason for that is it blew me away. I know some people are hit or miss with this one. Twilight Princess seems to be absolutely loved or kind of meh for some people. For me, I absolutely loved it, and it does seem to have grown in its cult status over the last 10 years. This version, while I can't give it a 9.8 out of 10 because, well, it doesn't add that much new to the game, I can still give it a 9.1 out of 10 because it's still an amazing game 10 years later, and the HD graphics are amazing on this. Get it if you don't own it, and if you do own it, get it anyway if you still want to play an HD version of this. Because this is the Metal Geek saying, have a great one, guys. See you next time.